So there's a kind of galut, there's a kind of exile that we experience, and it's not an exile of being away from Hashem, it's not an exile of being away from our home. That there's a very, very deep exile that Chassidus speaks about, and that is that a person is exiled from themselves, that a person is actually disassociated with themselves versus disconnected with themselves, and they really don't really get to know themselves. They're lacking self-awareness and self-connection, and a person could be doing everything right. A person could be davening, could be learning, and could be keeping mitzvahs, and yet they're completely disconnected from Hashem. And the reason why they're disconnected from Hashem is not because Hashem is far, because Hashem is really close. And the whole reason why they're disconnected is actually because they're disconnected from themselves. And so, Rebbe Nachman, so he is trying to solve this problem. He's trying to give us some kind of technique in order to be connected with ourselves, and this is really a kind of redemption. This is a kind of geula, and for this reason, so he developed this idea called Hitbodidut. Okay? And the idea of Hitbodidut is for a person to be able to connect with themselves, and to be able to be real with themselves, and to be able to feel associated with themselves, and to feel their identity. And Rebbe Nachman teaches that Hitbodidut is not an escape, but it's quite the opposite. It's really the way that a person enters reality. Okay, or in other words, that like a person, when we talk about Hitbodidut, the person is going to a forest and speaking to Hashem. So, like to the outsider, it would seem that he's trying to escape reality. And Rebbe Nachman says that no, it's only through this that you're actually becoming at one with reality, that you're connected to reality, that you're being real. Until now, you're living disassociated with reality, you're living in an alternative reality, and you're just in the dreamland, and it's only through the Hitbodidut that you're actually living a real life. So this is the topic that we're going to be dealing with tonight, that we're talking about Hitbodidut, and this is a continuation of our limud of Sichot HaRan, and we're up to chapter Samachet 68, and this is one of Rebbe Nachman's most famous teachings. One of his most famous novelties that he brought into the world, innovations that he brought, and revolutions that he made in Judaism. That even though it's a novelty and innovation, but he would always say that this is a very old thing. This is not a new thing at all. And so tonight we're going to be talking about a very specific brand of Hitbodidut, very specific technique in Hitbodidut, because there's many things the person could do in his conversation with Hashem. It's really, to a certain extent, it's a free for all. You could really, it's your special time with Hashem, and you really are welcome to use it however you deem appropriate. But he's going to be teaching us about a very certain way of using this time with Hashem, and that's what's called in other books. It's what's called Cheshbon Nefesh. It's called making a self-accounting. Okay, so let's see what he says. He's here ma'od kame pa'amim, and the Rebbe, so he taught us many times, that how critical it is for a person to have time set aside for speaking with his Creator. That every single person, this is not only for special people, this is not only for big tzaddikim, this is not only for people in spiritual heights, this is for every single yid, that he should be speaking to Hashem, that he should really have clarity. You should think about it very carefully. What am I doing with my life? What is happening to me? How am I acting? How am I living? How are things playing out? And v'yirachem al atzmo, and he should have compassion on himself. Okay, we'll speak about what this means. V'yifros kapav betachnunim piyusim levakesh l'tchanim l'fanav yisbarach, and he should spread out his hands to Hashem with pleading and begging and asking that Hashem, that with Hashem's great compassion, that I should be zeicha, that I should merit to be able to actually serve Hashem properly. And every person in the context of Hitbodidut, in the context of speaking to Hashem, so a person should try to think about the ta'anot, the arguments, that like things that you would argue to Hashem, that reasons why it's important that He should be nice to you, reasons why it's important that He should help you on your journey, reasons why it makes sense that like to be like a lawyer and to offer these arguments before Hashem, why He needs to listen to you, and this is what a person should do in the context of Hitbodidut. So, and then he says that it's critical that when you do this, the first thing that he tells us is that you need to do it in your mother tongue. You need to do it in, like he was speaking to people that spoke Yiddish, so you should do it in Yiddish. Don't do this in Hebrew. Don't do this don't do this from a text. This needs to be in English. This needs to be in a language that you're comfortable with, and if it's going to be do it from a text, then, or even if you're not doing it from text, even if you're going to be translating in your head, so then it's not going to work. Okay, so let's try to think about what he's saying over here. That if you notice what he says, he divides his Hitbodidut into 3 parts. Okay, the first part is that Yashev Atzma, the person needs to have Yeshiv Adas, have clarity of what he's doing with his life. Number 2, V'yirachim al Atzma. Number 2, they should have compassion. And number 3, they should ask Hashem to allow him to actualize the kind of life that he really wants for himself. So I really think that he's saying that very specifically that there's 3 steps, that this is a process, and each one has its own rules, and that each one fits into the other, and that without each of these 3 ingredients, so you're not going to get to the place that you want to get. So the first thing is that a person needs to be Yashev Atzma. The person has to have self-awareness. Okay, so like meaning, what am I doing? What am I doing when I'm speaking before Hashem? When I'm finding this time to speak to Hashem and to think about and to stand before Him. So one of the things I'm doing is that I'm being true with myself. I'm taking an accounting of my life. I'm taking accounting of my schedule, of like what time I wake up in the morning, how I wake up in the morning, what kind of mood I'm in, what kind of decisions I make, what am I doing for my occupation, what am I doing for how am I treating the people around me, how am I acting, and all the decisions that I make, to just have an awareness of what I'm doing with my life, what's going on. This is the first thing. Then, and without this, really, you're hopeless. If you're not going to be true with yourself, then you're never going to get anywhere. And so Rebbe Nachman is telling us that when you have this time to stand before Hashem, when you have this time, you found your place and you found your time that I'm able to like say, hi Hashem, I'm here. I want to speak to you. And so what's the first thing that I want to say? The first thing I want to say is that Hashem, let's think about my life. let's talk about, let's be real. So, and then you're talking out loud in front of Hashem, and you're reflecting. You're literally reflecting on how your life is going. So this is a huge thing. This is the only way that a person can ever get anywhere in life, is with self-awareness and with having the understanding of the awareness of what I'm doing, and to know the kinds of things I'm doing, and to take an accounting. And so this is the real reason. This is the first reason why Rebbe Nachman says that it needs to be in your mother tongue. It needs to be natural, because in this first step, what's a person doing? The first step of growth is being real. Okay, so I can't do anything if I'm not going to be real. If I'm going to be lying to myself, if I'm going to imagine that my life is the way that I would like it to be, and it's not, so then I'm really never going to get anywhere. And the only way that I can really be real is if I'm talking in a way that I'm connected to myself. Right? So, and this I can tell you as a person that I'm very fluent in Hebrew. My children don't speak English, in fact, and not that I recommend that, but there's something there's something even if you like there's one level that a person is fixed on translating. The person is just like they're so distracted by the fact that they're constantly thinking, what's this word mean, that they can't really express themselves properly. That's one level of not being real because you're translating. But there's even a deeper level. Even after a person is completely intellectually there in the other language, which I'm sure Rebbe Nachman was. Like Rebbe Nachman and his students, they were huge Talmidei Chachamim. They were extremely, extremely fluent in Hebrew. The issue wasn't that Rebbe Nachman was thinking, oh my gosh, how do I say wake up? That wasn't like he was past Opan 5. He was like and the issue was that even if intellectually you're really okay with a foreign language, with Hebrew specifically, so when you're speaking from your heart, so then there's only one language that your heart speaks, and that is the thing, that whatever language was that when you first allowed your heart to speak, when you first allowed yourself to express yourself, so that there's a certain flow that can only exist in that language. And Rebbe Nachman knew that the most important thing to be real is to allow yourself to flow. And so I'm not going to be able to really be true to myself unless I'm going to talk without any barriers, without any walls, even an intellectual bar. That it needs to be that my heart is able to speak freely and in the language that it speaks. Okay, so that's if a person wants to be real, a person wants to be true to themselves. So it's critical to be able to speak in their mother tongue. And so the first step is really being real. And in this level, in this first step, so a person is accounting for themselves, is making an awareness on their life. So the second part of the process, Rebbe Nachman says, is Yirachem al Atzmai. And when it says Yirachem al Atzmai, so it means to have compassion on himself. So what does it mean to have compassion on himself? So two things. First of all, it's impossible to have compassion unless you have a certain vision. And this is the main point of the second step of Hitbodidut, is that a person should create a vision for themselves. Where would I like to be? That if in my perfect life, if I would create a utopian life autobiography, so what would I be doing? Like, I see what I am doing. I'm aware of what I am doing. I'm aware of what time I wake up. I'm aware of how my davening looks. I'm aware of how my how my interactions look. I see what's going on. So, if I could make it perfect, so how would it look then? Okay, and this is a critical part. If I want to grow, I need to have goals. Now, of course, once I make these goals, I need to make sure that they're realistic. I need to make sure that because if it's not realistic, so then it's not real. Like if I need to ask myself, once I have I would like to wake up at 2 a.m. every day, and I'll start my day by learning 50 daf, and then I'll go to the kotel and go to the mikveh first, and then I ask myself, well, that is complicated considering that I go to sleep at 1:30. So maybe this is not really what Hashem wants from me. Maybe it's not even worth anything to have these goals because they have no connection to my life. This is not actually my biography. This is somebody else's biography. Maybe somebody who goes to sleep earlier. Maybe somebody that has bigger intellectual capabilities, maybe that has a certain different temperament, maybe a person who is living in a different continent, maybe a person who was born into a different family, but this is nothing to do with my life. So a person needs to be very realistic when they're making their goals, and yet they have to have goals. It's that the fact that their goals are not realistic is not a reason to give up on goals. It's a reason to reassess, and for a person to be true to themselves and say if I'm being honest, so what is the best me that I can put forward, and then that's the first step of the second step, and the second part of the second step is Yirachem al Atzmai, to have compassion. Okay, what is that compassion? That means that I notice the difference between where I am and where I should be. And so how do I deal with that difference? How do I deal with that space, with that distance? And most important thing is the Rebbe Nachman says it should not be from a place of guilt. That compassion is not beating up oneself. Compassion is the opposite of beating up oneself. So when I have compassion on myself, that's something the Rebbe Nachman would speak about a lot. That it says in Cheshbon HaRan that once Rebbe Nachman came to Rebbe Nachman, and Rebbe Nachman told him that the past couple of days I've been living a simple life. I don't know. Something came onto me. I don't have really a head to be a super rabbi. I've been living like a simple Jew. I get up in the morning and I daven and I say Tehillim a little bit, and then I learn without any chidushim, without any insights. I learn a couple of hours, and then I eat lunch and I take a nap, and then and he said, and I have tremendous compassion on myself. It's so sad. It's so sad. Like I'm supposed to be like the biggest rabbi in the world, and but I don't know. Like now I have to just be very, very simple. And Rebbe Nachman writes, he does this a couple of times that I can't express in words what his face looked like when he said how sad he is, how much compassion he has on himself, how he's so immersed, and he really was sad for himself. But at the same time, sadness is not, being compassionate on yourself is not the same thing as beating yourself up. It's the opposite of beating yourself up. So you can imagine that like us, like if we would be in that situation, we would be going crazy. I can't take this. What's wrong with me? I'm such and he was coming from a place of real compassion, real compassion, and real compassion is really the only way that a person can facilitate true growth, because we know that there is a certain amount of growth that you can get through force, but it's not true growth, right? That a person, if I say to you, why didn't you come at 8:30? Then okay. Because it's like tomorrow, you're going to come at time tomorrow. That was a joke because you guys were here at 8:30 and I wasn't here at 8:30. You're going to come on time tomorrow, but nothing really changed. Like the reason why you're doing what you're doing is not because you realized how beautiful it is, the value of coming on time, and it's simply because you just didn't like that I yelled at you. So you're trying to escape that pain. So nothing really changed. Like I have a better idea. Just go to somebody else's class. He's not going to yell at you. So beating yourself up does facilitate change, right? You realize I'm using myself as a metaphor, but really I'm saying this to yourselves, right? So beating yourself up, it will facilitate change, but it won't facilitate real change, right? Because the fact that you're changing is not from a real place, it's simply for a desire to escape the pain of the ridicule. Okay, so that's why beating yourself up is never going to make any real change. The only way to facilitate real change is only compassion. Okay, so when we're talking about having compassion on ourselves. So what does it really mean to have compassion on ourselves? Is to when a person sees somebody else in an unfortunate situation. So what is their emotion? The emotion is that I want you to have a good life. Right? That's the root of compassion. Right? Like a person sees this person in an unfortunate situation, that it's not just I feel bad for you. The reason why I feel bad for you starts from a desire for goodness, a desire for help, a desire for healing. That's really where the compassion comes from. So when I look at myself and I have these goals, and these goals are realistic, and I can really say with a full heart that this is where I should be, this is where I could be, and this is where I will be. So then I look at where I am, and I have compassion that you really. You could be living such a much more fulfilling life. You could be living such a more successful life. And isn't it sad? Isn't it really sad that you're not there? And from a place of compassion is really a place of love. And so when I approach growth from a place of love, so then it's nothing to be afraid of. Okay? It's nothing to avoid. If it's coming from a place of love, so then it's really, really nice. I read once from some Chabad shliach that he wrote that regarding like helping people grow, that if a person feels like if your mentor makes you feel like you're a diamond, then it doesn't hurt when he wants to polish you. Right? What? It's beautiful. Yeah. And so when it's coming from a place of love, that means that I see amazing potential, I see that you are actually awesome, and I see that this reality of what ought to be is real, and it's attainable. And so that once I go there, that's my perspective. So of course there's nothing painful about that, and I'm all in. I'm on board. I want to become that. I want to shine. I want to be that diamond. So that's the second step in Rebbe Nachman, and then the third part Rebbe Nachman says is that to dive into Hashem, to actualize it. Okay, and that is really that once I've clarified where I am, once I've clarified where I want to get to just do it, and to dive into Hashem, that it should actually become a reality. So there's a pasuk in Eicha that I believe really codifies these three steps of Hitbodidut. The pasuk says in Eicha, in Perek Gimel, it's Nachbesa derachenu v'nachra v'nashuv Hashem. And this is really one of the earliest sources that we have of the concept of Cheshbon Nefesh, the concept of self-contemplation, and as a form of growth. And the pasuk says, Nachbesa derachenu, we should search out our paths, v'nachkara, and we should interrogate them, and we should research them, v'nashuv Hashem, and then we should return to Hashem. So this pasuk really sets out these three different steps of the Hitbodidut, these three steps of the tshuva process. That number one, nach pesad racheno, we should search out our problems. We should search out our paths. I mean, of course, part of the thing that we're searching for is the things that are problematic, right? So to look with introspection, to be real with ourselves, and to be aware of our patterns, to be aware of our habits, to be aware of our decisions. V'nachkara, what does it mean v'nachkara? And the research, the inner searching is like, how can this change? Like, what can we tweak about our schedule? What can we tweak about our attitudes? What can we tweak about our decision-making process? What can change? And then through those two things, first of all, being real with ourselves. Second of all, having a real vision, a real goal, which is attainable. Then once I have those two things, then we can we can actualize it. So it seems simple enough. It seems simple enough that Rebbe Nachman tells us that this is a simple way to have improvement. So why is this so hard? Now, in general, Hitbodidut is one of the hardest things to do, and anybody who's ever tried to do it knows that we have these emotional blocks, which will give us all the excuses in the world. We can do anything except Hitbodidut, and so I was thinking, why is it that we have this mental block to speaking to Hashem and speaking about our situation? And so a couple of things. First of all, I think is something that we've mentioned earlier, and that is that we have this mistake. We have this misunderstanding that what we're doing when we're going to do it, so it's all about beating ourselves up. And so nobody likes to be beaten up. Some of us maybe have memories of other parents or teachers or mentors beating us up, and remembering how painful that was, and how that didn't we we ran away from that. I don't want to do it again. And so that could be that misunderstanding is one of the reasons why subconsciously, so we want to avoid Hitbodidut. But of course that's a huge mistake, because Hitbodidut is anything but beating ourselves up. And Rebbe Nachman notes that it needs to be from a place of compassion. It needs to be from a place of self-love. Now, even besides that, I do believe that there's other mental blocks that we have. Okay, number one, that we're not sure what we're going to say. We're not sure. Like it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to come into this situation that I'm standing before Hashem and I don't have a script, because that's against the rules to have a script. And so if I don't have a script, so like, what do I do? And so Rebbe Nachman is aware of this, and he writes elsewhere that don't worry about it. Don't sweat not having what to say. If you don't have what to say, so you could say nothing. You could say Ribbon Shalom, just master the world. You could say, Hashem, I don't know what to say. And just go over and over and just say whatever it is that Hashem, I don't know what to say. And Hashem, like this is so awkward. And the fact that you make time, the fact that you're making this meeting, so Rebbe Nachman says that itself is precious. That a person is so in self-denial that the thought of being true with themselves is so scary, is so anxious that they're like, I know that I have nothing to say, so I'm not going to try. And so that's like burying the possibility of self-exploration and getting to know yourself and self-awareness. If you don't show up, then it's never going to happen, because there is no book, there is no therapist, there is no AI that can tell you your actual true self.
Now you tell me.
I know it's a trend, right? To ask ChatGPT, tell me about my inner core self, and
you did a good job.
Yeah, I did that. He told me that I'm a little bit harsh, and and I told him maybe I'm not really harsh. Maybe I just talk to you harshly because you're not a human being. And he said, "Wow, that's such a good point. Thank you for pointing that out." So there's actually no AI that can tell you about your true self. The only one that can tell you about yourself is yourself, and it's really. And as much as we push it off because we think that we don't have to say, we have nothing to say, that is itself giving up. That is itself the throwing away the possibility of ever coming to self-awareness. And unfortunately, if we throw away the possibility of self-awareness, then we are burying the possibility of ever growing, of ever becoming the best version of ourselves. So Rebbe Nachman says that shwaya, that just show up. If you're showing up and you're trying, so then you have a possibility of reaching some degree of self-awareness, of reaching some degree of being in tune with yourself. And if you don't, and if you look at the fact that you didn't make it all the way as a failure, so then you're really missing the point. That the fact that you make this meeting, the fact that you make this space, the fact that you open up and show up and say that Hashem, I am interested in getting to know myself. I am interested in living a real life. I'm interested in living an authentic life. So then, the more that you put yourself open into the space, then the bigger chances are. The closer you get, this is not chances. Rebbe Nachman is going to say soon that there is no maybe this is going to succeed. This is success. This is absolutely going to succeed. And the first step to success is just opening up the door. Is just making the space in which your true self can come forward. And if you don't, and even if you have nothing to say, so you've also accomplished something. Okay, number two. So the reason why we avoid this is because we have a fear of looking in the mirror. Okay, we don't we know that if we think about all of our decisions, then there might be something that we don't like. And that scares us, that pains us, that we'd rather live in the bliss of ignorance and to not have to deal with our issues. And this is really a very immature approach. This is like a person that's like trying a diet and is scared to look at the scale. Just is scared to go on a scale. Like what? Whether or not you go on the scale, it makes zero difference in how much you weigh. It makes zero difference in how you look. It's like the person thinks that oh, now that I know that now things are bad. No, things were exactly just as bad. They were just as bad before you looked. They were just as bad before you knew. And the only thing that changed is that there's some kind of piece of information that could have helped you, and because you don't refuse to look, so then you're just living in oblivion. And if you know, so then it can give you some kind of marker, like have I gotten anywhere, have I not gotten anywhere? Like let's say a person was like trying very hard, exercising every day for 2 weeks, and they're scared to look in the mirror. So if it didn't help, so then that tells you that you're doing something wrong, right? It's only helpful, but like the person is scared that it's going to crush me if I see that I didn't lose weight. And so it's not much the same thing with our life itself. Like everybody understands that anybody who's ever experienced this knows that it's a real thing, that it's a fear to look at the scale, and it's completely absurd. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's that looking at the scale can only help us, and it's impossible to really get anywhere if we don't. So when it comes to life itself, so it's the very same thing. that if we have this fear to see our faults, and the truth is that our faults are 100% there, even if we don't know about them. Everybody else knows about them. We're the only ones that are living in peace with the fact that we have all these faults, because everybody else is not living in peace with our faults. Right? Everybody else looks at us and I said, another day that they showed up at 2 p.m, and like another time that they blew up at me, everybody else knows exactly what we are before we do this contemplation, and so we're only doing ourselves a favor by joining reality, by allowing ourselves to have the self-awareness. There's something, another thing, another reason why I think that we sometimes avoid these making these appointments, making these meetings of Hitbodidut, is that we don't really believe it'll make a difference. We don't believe that it helps. Like it's sort of opposite. Like the first reason why a person doesn't do this is because we're too harsh, and the second reason why we avoid this is because it's just how's it gonna help anything? It's just talk. It's just, and the truth is that if we would think about what this is, that we have a tendency to look at the value of something and as being dependent on how hard it is to attain. So, we're gonna in general, Hitbodidut of Cheshbon Hanefesh is similar to a life coach. Okay, it's similar to a life coach. Now, who knows the most famous life coach in the world? Tony Robbins. Okay, Tony Robbins. He takes, I believe, for a 20-minute session, he takes something like $80,000. Yeah. And so what is he like? So when you're paying $80,000 for a 20-minute session with somebody, so then you know that you're getting value, right? You know that. So that if I would tell you that you can do almost the same thing with yourself, so then it's just the fact that I don't have to go to somewhere, the fact that I don't have to wait on a line, the fact that I don't have to take out a mortgage, we have this tendency to downplay the value of such a thing. But the truth is that this is actually improving our life in huge, huge ways, and it's just we're so fortunate. Like everybody who came tonight. So you got $80,000 because you have the secret that Rebbe Nachman is telling us, that you have the truth yourself. You know, and so what's very interesting is that I specifically used the example of Tony Robbins because one of the rules in life coaching is that the life coach doesn't really tell you anything. He just allows you to bring out truths that you already know. Okay? And this is the biggest difference between life coach and a therapist. That a person goes to a therapist when there's something not okay, right? When there's something in, like, a person has a trauma, a person has a certain pattern in their thinking that isn't going well. So then you need a therapist, like, to heal something which is ill in your psyche. So whereas a person who goes to a life coach doesn't have any trauma, doesn't have any crisis. It could be a crisis, but you don't have any abuse. You don't have any. Everything is okay, and just like, I think I'm living a mediocre life, and I would like to live a great life. I would love to live an awesome life, and so that Hitbodidut can really help for just being your own life coach. Whereas if you have some kind of trauma, so then Hitbodidut is not going to be enough, and that's you need a mentor. You need somebody to help you go through, to help you heal the traumas that you need to heal, and Rebbe Nachman is certainly a proponent of having a mentor, and he even used this metaphor about himself. He said that he said about himself that I'm a doctor of souls. I'm a doctor of souls. Bring me your broken souls, and I will fix them. That's literally what he said about himself. And when he said that he's the biggest fan of Hitbodidut, he did not mean that from now on you don't need rabbis, and from now on you don't need therapists, and you don't need mentors. That the opposite, like, you always need both. But there's a lot that you can do yourself. And one of the most amazing things that Rebbe Nachman gave to us is this empowerment that how much we have ourselves. How much we are able to heal ourselves, how much we're able to bring ourselves forward, how much we're able to bring forward the best vision of ourselves, and to have the awareness of how our schedule looks and how our life looks. So I think this is the big reason, a big thing that holds us back when we're thinking, like, should I take 10 minutes in my day to just talk to Hashem and just have some peace of mind. And so one of the biggest obstacles is that we tell ourselves, well, how much is it really worth? How much could these 10 minutes do? How much could this really change my life? It's not really a big thing. So those are the things. Those are the reasons why we have these mental blocks, which is holding us back. And now the second part of this Torah is it's very fascinating, and I think it's really based on the Zohar. Let's read what Rebbe Nachman says. That he says that a person that Yosem is a hirbel daber imanu harbe ma'od be'inyan zeh ki mishiyaga atzmo lino kanagazu b'chol yom. If a person makes a habit to do this every single day, al kapadim sha'achas bevada yizkal yizkar v'lev yisparach be'emes, there is no doubt that he will merit to come close to Hashem in truth. Even if you feel like I'm trying it and it's not working, just don't give up. There is no doubt in the world that it will work. And then Rebbe Nachman said that David HaMelech was a very big fan of Hitbodidut, and based on his personal Hitbodiduts, that's how he wrote Sefer Tehillim. That the entire book of Psalms was simply a recording of what David HaMelech would say when he was doing his Hitbodidut. And when did David HaMelech do his Hitbodidut? In his bed. Before he went to sleep, He would cover himself with a blanket. That's when he would speak out his heart to Hashem, and he brings a pasuk that supports this. That I have a sicha, I have conversations every single night on my bed, bidimati arsiyamsa, and I tuck myself in with my tears. Okay, he was doing this Hitbodidut in his bed every night, and so when I saw this, I was thinking that there's that this concept that Rebbe Nachman is speaking about here of having a Cheshbon nefesh, of having an accounting of one's life. So the first source of Cheshbon nefesh is in the Zohar, and so I wanted to look up what exactly does the Zohar say about these people who take an accounting of their lives, and it's actually very, very fascinating. That the pasuk, the Zohar can be found in Chelik Gimel, Daf Kuf Ayin Ches, and it's talking about Gehenna. It's talking about the pasuk is talking about this passage in the Zohar is talking about hell, and hell is obviously not a place we want to be, and he talks about the different parts of hell, and he says one of these places is called Sheol. One of the parts of Gehenna is called Sheol, and so he says, "Man de islay uvada tava, or de umar de chushbana." So the pasuk, the Zohar is coming to explain a pasuk that the pasuk says in Kohelet, "Ki ein ma'isa v'cheshbon v'das v'chachma b'Sheol asher tahor lech l'shem." That in Sheol, which is a reference to Gehenna. So there in hell, so then there is no ma'isa, there is no action, v'cheshbon, and there's no accounting, v'das v'chachma, and there's no understanding and wisdom in hell. So the Zohar is coming to explain what does this pasuk really mean on a deeper level. So he says that what it means is, man de'ispe uvda tava, a person who has good actions, or de'ihu mari dechushbana, or a person who has a self-accounting, or a person that spends their life trying to understand Hashem. That these are the people that they cannot stay in hell. If you get to hell for whatever reason after you die, but you are one of these people that either you do good deeds, or you're a person who's married to Cheshbon, you're a person who's always making an accounting of your life, or you're a person that's always trying to understand Hashem. So then you are free of hell. Okay, this is really like this is like I'm not trying to use like fear tactics here, but like this is a real good reason it's worth it. It's a good investment to be a person that regularly does Cheshbon nefesh, person that regularly does accounting for themselves, because if you do so then the Zohar promises that you're nothing to worry about, that you're not going. So first of all, I think that this is what Rebbe Nachman means when he says that you're bevadai, it's going to work. I think he was referring to the Zohar, that what it means is that if you're trying, then you succeeded. Like a person that doesn't make this time to try to make an accounting, okay, how's my life going? What can I do better? If you're not willing to do that, then you have to deal with the consequences. But if you're willing to be real with yourself, then that means you're trying. If you're trying, then you're there. Like it's mind-boggling. Like, you don't have to be a big tzaddik. You just have to be trying. Or in other words, that if you're really trying, then you're a big tzaddik. Like, that is all that Hashem asks from us, to be on top of this, to be aware, to not just hide. Like it's funny. Like we use the expression like just like to hide under the covers and just like escape reality. And like Rebbe Nachman says that's exactly what David HaMelech would do. Like when he was being real with himself, he was hiding under the covers to embrace reality. Okay, and now, but the Zohar continues. So what is this? What is this Mari Dechoshmana? What does it mean? The Zohar says, what does it mean to be a person who takes an accounting of themselves? That every evening, ad lo yishkav v'ad lo naim, before you go to sleep. Okay, this is David HaMelech. Like the Zohar is saying that the Zohar is saying explicitly what Rebbe Nachman said, that the time to do the time to do Hitbodidut, the time to do Cheshbon is before you go to sleep. So you should, by Barnash, a person needs to to take an accounting of what did I do today? How did my day go today? And he should try to improve, and he should ask Hashem to help him that tomorrow should be a better day. And so this is specifically what the Zohar says, that it's the time to do this is at night, and so I think that it's something very beautiful about doing this at night, because it's a new way of looking at like tomorrow. That I once heard from a Tzvi Meir Zilberberg that like the beginning of your day is not waking up. The beginning of your day is how you go to sleep. And it's so powerful when a person goes to bed with a certain intention, with a certain hope for a better tomorrow. That makes such a difference in like when you plan how tomorrow is going to look, when you plan what time you're going to go up, and how you're going to wake up, and how you're going to spend the first part of your day, and the middle part of your day, and the end part of your day. When you have this vision before you go to sleep, so it's so much more powerful than if you just wake up and said, "Okay, what do I do now?" Like how, like it's and the truth is that sleep has this power of transformation, and so to be a person that does Cheshbon Nefesh, to be a person that does this Hitbodidut, specifically before they go to sleep, specifically when they're excited, when they're planning my new existence of tomorrow. So this is like the most powerful way to do it, because this is like you can really, literally, you can let your old self die in the sleep and then wake up a brand new person. And I think this is really the deeper meaning of why the Zohar says that this is the time. I think this is why David HaMelech actually said that the time to do this is before we go to sleep. So I bless us all that we should really be able to actualize this. And it's such a powerful tool. It's such a game changer. And it's something that if we're honest with ourselves, then we really know that it's really impossible to have true growth without self-awareness and without having a life coach. And there's a reason why people pay $80,000 for this. And to know that we can really do a large part of it ourselves is so awesome, and it's priceless. It's really priceless. And to know that Hashem is being with us, and Hashem is inspiring us and is giving us the tools to look into ourselves and to figure out how we would like to be and how the real best version of ourselves is going to play out. So this itself is the thing that is going to save us, is going to make us into absolute successes. And the Rebbe Nachman promises that if you do this, then there is no maybe it'll work, that if you're doing this, then you are succeeding, and you are a person who is becoming that person. You are creating this vision, and you are actualizing as that Hashem. So we should take these words really, really for real, and it should be part of our lives. And tonight we'll start like under our covers. So to think that, okay, how is tomorrow going to be a better day? Hashem.